G'day, this is E.T. again, and I think we should continue the discussion about climate change. Excuse me, my outdoor studio, but there's something that they won't tell the general public and most people, and even most climate scientists are not aware of the evolutionary process. They're not aware of it. If you cannot connect the climate, the changing of climate, and natural adaptation of people to the evolutionary process, you're not giving a very enlightened story to the general public. The fact is this: all humans adapt into the time-space paradigm they're born into. All humans. No, and you cannot change the natural process, you adapt to it. Australia, for example, has approximately, out of my head, about 0.015% of the total global output of CO2, and yet its politicians are basically defrauding the people of their economy, which they need to employ for employment and to run their houses and to buy houses and things like that, by pretending and basically playing to the ignorance on the audience. Remember, most school kids have never done science at school or do not understand the concepts, and the government's using this ignorance to basically rob them of an economic future, create massive amounts of debt, whilst pretending it's a very minute quantity of CO2 Australia produces is so insignificant. Even if you stop using it, or stop using any CO2 at all, or emitting it, the output elsewhere in the world is growing exponentially through the natural human growth. We're all carbon-based creatures, and as life grows, there is more production of CO2 and methane and other generated physical attributes to what living organisms produce. There are so many factors to the discussion on climate change. The most important one is the economic one, which they do not want to face. They do not want to admit to kids robots are going to take all over your jobs. No politics, and this is the science, regardless of climate change. The whole thing is a diversion away from the failure of politics to acknowledge the coming of the robot age. It's defrauding children of their future while pretending and getting them into emotionally upset about something there's very little people can do about. Because we do not know, you can maybe stop all the CO2 in the earth, and next minute you might have an ice age. You don't know, because it's unpredictable. Or you might get smashed into by a comet 100 years from now, or wipe out most of the life. It's unpredictable. Anyone who has read history for all their life will be very, very aware that weather and climate and life itself is more or less unpredictable. Pretending you can change a climate from Australia is a fraud of the lowest level. What they're doing to young people who have never done science in their life is despicable in its own way. And the ABC, paid by the taxpayers, is doing all it can to divert the attention away from the real serious problems affecting the economy and of Australia, who's got a massive amount of homeless people. And that's where the focus should be on. That's where the intention should be on. Homelessness, poverty, and the causes of crime, because they will affect people's lives far more than the climate. The people living out in the climate, in the streets in Sydney, they're the ones suffering climate now. The poverty of poor politics affecting the economy, causing massive rent rises and massive electricity charges, saying, oh, we're going to fix the climate by pushing up electricity prices so much people can't afford it. Well, what sort of solution is that? So the whole thing is a diversion to avoid the discussion, and it's a wrong discussion. It's a discussion about evolutionary theory and about how humanity adapts to change with practical, positive methods that are applied pragmatically through the system. Thank you. This is ET. When Brian Cox wants to discuss climate change, he is more than welcome.